So welcome to tonight's call. What we're here for. Why do we do this every week? Well, here's the reason. We want to share the world about our message about Immunotech, our mission, and what drives us. So it doesn't matter if you've been with Immunotech for a long time or you're brand new. We're excited that we can share our stories with you. My name is Judy MacDonald. I'm from Calgary, Alberta. And tonight I will be hosting the call. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite beverage, and let's get ready to be inspired by another real life story. And tonight I would like to introduce Mr. Barry White. Barry is one of the best in Immunotech. His storytelling strength is really what makes him special. I spent a couple of days chatting with Barry on the phone, and we got into some really interesting history of Immunotech, and tonight we're going to share a little bit about that with you. Barry, if you want to know anything about the history of Immunotech, Barry is the one to connect with. Since 1997, he has built a network of over 300 consultants. Barry, I'd like to welcome you to the call tonight.
Well, thank you, Judy. It's an actual pleasure to be invited. You notice the two pictures, the one you're seeing on the screen and the actual one? There's one or two months difference between them, I guess.
Oh. Well, we have to show our best at all times. But you know what? It's not important how we look, it's what we have to say and what we have to contribute. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. You know, I was really taken back the last couple of days having so much conversation about our company and all the adventures that you've had with Immunotech, and it was just so enlightening and so encouraging, I have to say. So I want to start by asking you this question. What was your first encounter with Immunocal, and what was it that piqued your interest?
Well, here's sort of the interesting thing. I got a phone call from Wally Kralik, and it had come because my son had delivered pizza to someone, and she didn't want to call me because she saw that there was credentials on my name, so she was scared. She gave it to Wally. Wally called up and said, "Do you want to know what the latest research is at McGill?" And really, that was not a priority for me. It had to do with my wife, and she was bedridden and not doing well, and that focus was more the issue. And so there was the first contact was Wally. They got me down to Montreal, drove me down, and to see that it was something real. It wasn't someone's telephone booth packaging some white powder. It was real stuff. I got to meet Chuck Roberts, and one of the things I saw on the wall, I mean, this is unheard of today, but on the wall was a framed one-page document from the Montreal Gazette, I think it was, and it had a full page about this brand new upstart company called Immunotech. Now, the Toronto Star or the other national papers, they wouldn't do that today because that was free. That wasn't paid for. And here was this document on the wall. So no matter what Chuck said, here was credibility sitting on the wall. I've got some competition here. But anyway,
so Barry, for the sake of the new people on the call, can you explain to us who Chuck Roberts was?
Oh, Chuck Roberts, of course, was one of the founders. Well, in a line of people, the founders had to do with medical people. The founders had to do with people who understood network marketing, and he was that branch. He was the one that had a network marketing background and was able to then steer the company in an area away from pharmaceuticals, and all the pharmaceuticals would do is shelve the product, and we would never have it today. So Chuck Roberts and John Molson, of course, part of his partner, were part of the two that directed it towards network marketing. And the benefit of that is we have it in our hands. Otherwise, someone else would have got it and shelved it. Anyway.
Well, you know, that was part of the fascination of our talk in the last 2 days. And actually, we don't have enough time. It would be hours if we got into the detail of the stories. But what I want you to share with the audience tonight is that we both agreed that this product is a gift from God. And there are a couple of ways that we can look at that, pharma-wise and otherwise. Maybe you could elaborate on that for the audience tonight.
Well, the first one that's sort of obvious, the bonded cysteine that is a critical part of immunocal has been in every mammal, human, since the beginning of whenever those began. And we've had that opportunity to have the effects of that in mother's milk. But in 1943, 42, in Ontario, they started pasteurizing the milk, and we lost the opportunity, cow's milk, we lost the opportunity to have that. So the other part of the miracle in terms of God's leading, it has to do with what it took to get the people together. Can you imagine this? First of all, Dr. Bunos, Italian trains, we had to get them to Montreal, to McGill. How did we do that? I mean, there had to be a part. We had to get Dr. Conshaven, graduate from Cambridge in England, to get her here. We had Dieter Beer show up, and he had to come to Canada from Germany. He was the one that really financed in the early stages. And the other part of these miracles, in the same kind of time when they were experimenting and finding that it didn't work anymore, there was an edict or law passed in Europe that says now you can't dump the whey protein into the lakes and rivers. So all these combinations to get it to here. And then, of course, Chuck Roberts had to come in the scene because all Dr. Bunos and Dieter Beer knew were pharmaceuticals. And the pharmaceutical, if they'd gone down that road, we would not have Immunocal today. They would have simply put it on the shelf. You realize that the average person being treated for cancer costs $100,000 for the government. Immunocal, much less, just pennies or a few dollars per serving. So when money wins out, Immunocal wouldn't have been there. Then came along Chuck Roberts and John Molson, and that whole combination of people were the mechanism to make it possible. So to me, that's a miracle of putting all those people together to put in our hands what has been sort of under the noses but never known of the potential of Immunocal.
And one of the things that really startled me was what you said. I didn't realize that John Molson was not there in the beginning, that it was actually a lawyer that brought the whole combination together. Can you elaborate a bit more on that?
Well, it just so happens. I don't believe in just so happening. I believe there's a divine plan in all this to get it into my hands. You see, the whole thing is, I needed something in 1997, but all these pieces had to start from the 1950 to make it all together. Now, we're back to this question of the lawyer. It just so happened that Dieter Beer's lawyer and Chuck Roberts' lawyer was the same person. Person that came from the Barbados, and he said, "Why don't you two, who are differing parts of the world, standard business and network marketing business, why don't you talk to each other?" And out of that was formed Immunotech.
Wow, what an amazing story. Now I want to change gears a bit. Thank you for that history. It's just so fascinating. And I wish that we could spend a little longer on that. But you know what? We want to talk a little bit about you. And after joining Immunotech, you've actually built a network of over 300 consultants. Tell us a bit about how did that happen?
Well, I began in, October the 16th, 1997. Okay, that's when it all started. We had an accident within a couple of, and our car was destroyed. And my wife and I, part of that, were not functioning as well. So I only got 5 people in my business in the first 5 months. I didn't think I was that bad, but I wasn't getting there. But the first big meeting that Immunotech had in Toronto was unexpected. They planned for 500 people. And so in my utter sense of confidence, I said, give me 10% of the seats. I want to put 50 people in chairs there and basically launch my business in Immunotech. So I worked as hard as I could, all the contacts I had, and I got 47 people there, some by accident, some by planning. But that was the foundation, using that meeting in Toronto to basically launch it. If I'd carried on the way I was doing one by one, like 5 people in 5 months, 1 a month, that wouldn't have got me very far. But when you get 47 people and they then know other people and work on that, that's when you really can get going. So I used a major meeting. And by the way, that meeting that was expected to have 500 had 700 there. So I didn't get my 10%, but that's really the launch.
Wow. 700 people. That must have been electric, having that many people in the room with the,
never done it as good since, but we know we have had a couple of really good ones in sports and so on. But that was a really strong launch in Toronto, February of 98.
Yeah, that's been a while now, hey? So in your view, what has anything shifted in the mindset of people that care about health or not care about health? Like, what's going on with people today in your mind?
Well, part of in the 26 years that I've been involved with it, we've seen people who the doctors have said, write your will, get ready for the pine box. And we have, by, again, intervention of higher powers here, we've had the opportunity to put Immunocal in their life, and they're still with us. They're alive.
Wow.
That sense of satisfaction,
Yeah.
The money's good. I mean, the whole thing of earning money is good, but the satisfaction of having people that you value and treasure still alive, even though the medical side of the world said they were not going to be on this earth very long. So that's one of the big satisfactions of Immunocal and the business Immunotech.
Barry, you just hit the nail on the head. That is exactly the purpose of why we're doing these calls. We need more ambassadors. We need more people sharing this product with people, just because of what you just said. The changes that it makes in a person's life is sometimes miraculous. Wouldn't you agree? Absolutely.
Well, from pine box to standing around living is a big change by itself. You know what I mean by the pine box. The whole aspect of changing. Okay, when you change people's money part, you may save them from bankruptcy or losing a house and so on, and that's a satisfaction. But when you see their health change from poor and migrate up to good, satisfactory, excellent, better, wow, yeah. All that's a major part of this. And the other part is, in terms of friends, we all get older somehow or other, as long as we stay alive. And part of that, your friends from yesteryear drop away on you. I was a part of a cluster of 20-some-year-old people. 85% of them, they all said no to me, by the way, on Immunotech. They're all dead. There's very few of us left. The whole aspect of making new friends, that's where I'm getting at. The the larger number of my good friends now are Immunocal people.
Yeah. But you know, Barry, you just hit another really important thing. It's not about how long we live, it's how we live out our life. So there's various ways to do it. You can be in illness for many years. Like, look at our technology today. Medicine allows us to survive, but we're not really living a life. And that's the thing that I see Immunical do. It actually gives people a quality of life. And we all have an expiration date, as you said earlier, right? But it's how we live out the rest of our life. And you just said, look at, most of your friends are gone, and here you are, you and Fern. But you know what? Tell us a bit about what was going on with Fern when she started Immunical.
Say again?
Yeah, tell us more about Fern and what happened with her and her health, and when she started Immunical.
When she was on, when she sent me down, Wally sent me some very poor copies of material, and I did not have the energy to even read them. It looked so bad. I just gave them to Fern. Fern was bedridden and probably might have only lived another 3 years. So she read them, and she believed that the possibility was there. We'd gone through the doctors, no help. We had done all the nutritional pieces that we knew about, didn't know about Immunical, but we knew everything else that was on the thing. We had worked hard at the understanding and so on, and none of those had brought results. We were still losing the battle. And so when she was the bright one. She was the one that told me that I had to go to Montreal to prove that these pages were actually true, or they were just pieces of dirty old paper, right? So having set me down, and by the way, what I really, gonna pay her off, son, I brought back, the only way we could get in then was 12 boxes of Immunical. And so I bought my 12 boxes, got back at 3 a.m. in the morning, woke her up and said, if you're going to send me to Montreal, life-changing things, you're going to take the product now. And so we're only taking one package a day because Immunotech didn't know the full value of the product, or how much you really needed, or if different circumstances required more. We didn't know that. So we just did the one. And within 2 weeks, she was up and around and able to go to a full day conference. 2 weeks, can you imagine? From sort of sense dying to 2 weeks at a conference. Wow. That's when Immunical sort of became real.
Wow. So you're still an Immunotech consultant. You're still in the business. You're still doing what you do. When you look back on your journey in this, what encouragement could you pass on to others that are aspiring to start this journey? Now, this is a long time for you, 26 years. So if somebody's starting today, what words of encouragement would you give them?
Well, the first part is to believe so deeply that it comes out of your pores. Immunical is this gift that we've been given, and it has, sitting out there, there are people we haven't met yet, and there are people who are hurting, whether physically or financially, they're hurting, and they're waiting for us to give them the good news. We don't know who they are right now, but we have to go find them. And some of them may show up, present themselves to us. Others we may have to scrounge down the road simply by asking the question, do you need this? Do you need that? Or, for example, for university students wind up with an enormous debt, right? So I say to university students, you know what I do for a living? I help university students graduate without any debt. Would you like to know more about it? And so in terms of finding the person's needs, I try to work with that and see if their mind is open. Hopefully, The occasional one will be.
You know, you are a legacy leader, and this is one of the things that astound me about Immunotech is that you're one of them. It's not like you're the one. There's a few legacy leaders, and that just tells you about the impact of this company and the commitment and the dedication that these consultants have over the years. Never stop, never give up, never quit. Hey, Barry, ever.
Right. And for our labors, Immunotech rewards us. That's good.
Yeah, it's a double blessing for sure. Well, Barry, I want to thank you so much for being our guest tonight. And like I said, thank you for the great stories I've heard over the 2 days. And like I said to everybody in the audience, if you want to know anything about Immunotech history, Barry's your guy. He's the guy. Thank you, Barry. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
We'll talk again. So there you have it. This is an example of our Immunotech consultants. I just want to tell you about an event that's coming up in Markham, Ontario. So Barry, you talked about getting 700 people to a meeting. Let's see if we can work on that in Markham, Ontario. So anybody, if you know anybody in Markham, any friends, family, get them to this meeting. It's going to be amazing. Again, we've got a couple of our legacy leaders, Wally Krolick, Doug McNabb. We've got our own Jimmy Gutman, leader of leading authority in glutathione. And of course, our committed general manager leader, Jorge Human. Not good at that pronunciation. So make sure you get everybody out there. So this is us. This is Immunotech. This is what we stand for. We are committed and dedicated to a healthier future. And with all of us staying the course, staying committed to what we do, keep sharing, like Barry says, never give up. Just keep sharing with everyone you know. We will move this forward. So thank you, everyone, for coming on this call. Make sure you invite more people, more listeners. We just want people to hear our story so they too can have a transformation. So thank you for joining us this evening, and make sure you come back next Tuesday for another great story. Good night, everyone.
Ici, pris dans l'arrière-pays, je pense à tout ce que j'ai manqué avec Mimi puis les deux filles. Et j'ai ce sentiment fucké d'être étranger dans ma famille. La question que je me pose tout le temps, pourquoi travailler autant, éloigné de ceux que j'aime, tout ça pour jouer la game. C'est si triste que des fois, quand je suis loin de la maison, assis dans mon vieux camion,